Chapter 1. The Inner Battlefield, where trades are truly won. Every chart, every candle, every entry begins in the mind. Most traders believe they're fighting the market, but the real war happens long before the first trade is placed. It happens in silence, in the invisible space between a thought and a click. It's the battle between fear and patience, between greed and discipline, between the need to win and the wisdom to wait. You see, the market doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care how long you've been here or how much you've studied. It rewards clarity and punishes emotion. And yet, every trader at some point has felt that storm inside. The rush of adrenaline when a setup looks perfect, the panic when a candle moves against you, the hope that maybe, just maybe, if you hold a little longer, things will turn around. That storm is the battlefield. When you look at a chart, what you're really seeing isn't just price movement. You're seeing emotion, painted in data. You're watching fear and greed play tug of war not only in others, but inside yourself. Most traders never realize this. They chase signals, they chase strategies, they chase certainty. But what they're really running from is their own mind. The first weapon of mental discipline is awareness. Awareness turns chaos into clarity, because the moment you see your emotions, they lose control over you. Think about the last time you made an impulsive trade. You probably felt that electric pull, a voice whispering, "Don't miss out." That voice isn't logic. It's survival instinct disguised as intuition. Your brain, still wired for the hunt, sees opportunity as prey. But trading is not hunting. It's patience, precision, and perspective. Professional traders don't suppress emotion, they understand it. They learn to listen to that inner voice without obeying it. They pause, observe, and ask, is this decision driven by logic or by fear? Am I following my plan or chasing comfort? This self-questioning is where mastery begins, because awareness doesn't remove emotion, it transforms it into information. Fear becomes a signal, greed becomes a warning, and hesitation becomes an opportunity to prepare. Imagine your mind as a trading room. Every thought is a voice. One urges you to act fast before it's too late. Another warns you not to risk it. A third whispers that you're not good enough to win. The undisciplined trader lets these voices shout over each other. The disciplined trader listens. Not to react, but to understand which voice speaks truth. That's the difference between chaos and control, between trading impulsively and trading consciously. There's a saying, the market exposes who you are. And it's true. The screen becomes a mirror, reflecting your patience, your insecurities, your ego. Every mistake you make is not just technical, it's emotional. When you overtrade, it's rarely because the setup demanded it. It's because your mind craved validation. When you hold losers too long, it's not hope, it's denial. And when you take profits too early, it's not strategy, it's fear of losing what you've gained. The market doesn't test your skills, it tests your self-control. If you want to trade like a winner, you must think like one. And that begins by redefining what winning means. Winning is not a single trade. It's not a lucky streak or a perfect call. Winning is maintaining mental balance even when everything else feels uncertain. It's staying disciplined when your mind wants to rush. It's holding peace when your screen is red. That's the inner victory, the one no one else sees, but every great trader feels. In time, you'll notice something powerful. When your emotions stop controlling your decisions, your results stop controlling your emotions. The two are deeply connected. The trader who reacts to every tick will always be a prisoner of the moment. The trader who observes with calm detachment begins to see the market as it truly is. And in that space of stillness, between thought and action, you'll find your greatest edge. Every trade you place is a reflection of your inner state. So the next time you're about to enter a position, ask yourself, am I in control or am I reacting? Because awareness is the first discipline. Without it, no strategy can save you. With it, no loss can break you. The truth is simple, but not easy. Before you can conquer the market, you must conquer yourself. And once you learn to see that inner battlefield clearly, you'll start to notice something extraordinary. The noise begins to fade, the chaos starts to quiet, and what remains is focus. In the next chapter, we'll explore that silence and discover how true traders rise above emotion and find power in detachment. Chapter 2. Silence the Noise, Mastering Emotional Detachment. Chapter 2. Silence the Noise, Mastering Emotional Detachment. There is a quiet strength that only a few traders ever find. It's not in their strategy, it's not in their timing, it's in their stillness. Because when everyone else reacts, they observe. When others panic, they breathe. When the world shouts for attention, they listen to the silence within. Every trader faces noise. Charts flashing, notifications buzzing, commentators predicting the next big move, social media filled with profit screenshots and promises of overnight success. The noise is endless, and if you let it in, it becomes the loudest voice in your head. You begin to doubt yourself. You hesitate on good setups. You chase trades you never planned, and you start to confuse motion with progress. But true mastery begins when you learn to quiet that noise, not by escaping it, but by becoming unmoved by it. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. Clinging to outcomes, clinging to being right, clinging to the need to win every trade. The detached trader still feels, but they don't feed those feelings. They watch emotion rise and fall like waves, knowing that still waters run deeper. Because emotional control isn't built by force. It's built by understanding. Let's picture a moment. You've just taken a trade. At first, it moves in your favor. Your heart beats faster. A rush of validation hits you. You were right. You feel powerful. But then, the candle shifts. Price retraces. Your confidence wavers. That same energy turns into anxiety. You stare at the screen, frozen between hope and fear. One thought after another races through your mind. Should I close now? Should I wait? What if it reverses? This is the noise, not outside, but inside, and it's louder than any market signal. The truth is, you can't silence the market, but you can silence your reaction to it. The goal isn't to control price action, it's to control your focus. The moment you realize this, something shifts. You stop trying to predict the next candle and start managing yourself. Because the market doesn't test your strategy, it tests your stability. Most traders believe emotions are the enemy. They're not. Emotions are messages, signals from the subconscious. But like every signal, they need interpretation. Fear isn't telling you to run. It's telling you to prepare. Greed isn't evil. It's enthusiasm unchecked. Doubt isn't weakness. It's a reminder to pause and verify. Emotional detachment isn't the absence of feeling. It's the mastery of meaning. When you trade without detachment, every tick defines you. A winning trade inflates your ego. A losing one crushes your confidence. Your self-worth rises and falls with your P&L. You become emotionally attached, not just to trades, but to identity. And when your identity is tied to results, discipline collapses. You stop following your plan because your plan doesn't feed your ego fast enough. But a detached trader sees differently. They view every trade as data, not validation. Wins and losses both reveal lessons, not identity. Their confidence comes from process, not outcome. And that's where freedom begins. Detachment is a paradox. It feels like letting go, but it's actually taking control. Think of it like holding a handful of sand. The tighter you grip it, the more slips through your fingers.
But when you relax your hand, the sand stays. Trading is the same. When you grip too tightly, trying to control every candle, every outcome, you lose flow, clarity, and patience. But when you loosen your grip, you start to see the market clearly. You stop reacting and start reading. You stop forcing and start flowing. Every professional trader eventually learns this lesson. The calm mind wins. Because clarity doesn't come from knowing what happens next. It comes from being okay with not knowing. This is why emotional detachment feels uncomfortable at first. You're stepping into uncertainty without trying to control it. But within that uncertainty lies a quiet confidence, a grounded belief that whatever happens, you'll respond with discipline, not desperation. Imagine walking through a storm. Winds rage, trees sway, thunder roars, but you stay centered. You're not pretending the storm isn't real. You're simply refusing to let it throw you off balance. That's what a detached trader does. They don't avoid volatility, they anchor through it. And the anchor is process, routine, consistency. Your trading plan isn't just a roadmap, it's a stabilizer. It keeps emotion from steering the wheel when the waves hit hard. Start noticing your triggers. What moments make you emotional during trading? Is it watching profit turn to loss, missing a move, seeing others succeed faster than you? Each trigger reveals attachment. Each attachment reveals where clarity is missing. The next time emotion rises, don't fight it. Simply name it. This is greed. This is fear. By naming emotion, you separate from it, and that separation creates space for reason. That small space is where professional thinking lives. Trading detached doesn't mean being robotic. It means trading from peace, not panic, from discipline, not desire, from logic, not longing. You'll know you're growing when a losing trade doesn't shake you, when a winning trade doesn't blind you, when your mind remains still regardless of outcome. That's not coldness, that's mastery. That's clarity in motion. And something beautiful happens when you reach this stage. You stop hearing the noise, not because it's gone, but because you've learned to rise above it. The charts still move, the world still shouts, but inside, there is silence. And in that silence, you begin to see. You begin to feel calm while acting precisely. You begin to trade like a winner. Because every great trader understands, it's not about predicting chaos. It's about staying calm within it. Detachment doesn't make you less human. It makes you more aware, more intentional, more powerful. And once you master emotional detachment, you'll realize that true strength doesn't come from reacting fast, but from waiting wisely. In the next chapter, we'll explore that power of waiting, the patience that separates impulsive traders from intelligent ones, because patience isn't inaction, it's strength in stillness. Chapter 3. The Patience Edge. Waiting for probability, not hope.
Chapter 3. The Patience Edge. Waiting for probability, not hope. They say patience is a virtue, but in trading, patience is a weapon. Not the kind that attacks, the kind that protects, because every impulsive trade is a leak in the mind, and every moment of patience is a moment of power. In the last chapter, you learned to silence the noise, to remain calm when emotion rises. But silence is only the beginning. Now comes the harder part, learning to wait. Waiting doesn't sound glamorous. It doesn't give that dopamine rush of a quick win. But patience, true disciplined patience, is what separates professionals from gamblers. The amateur chases every flicker on the chart. Every move feels urgent. Every signal feels like the one. But the professional knows most of what happens in the market is just noise. They wait for probability, not prediction. They don't hope to be right. They prepare to act when the odds align. That's the patience edge. Think of patience as the space between impulse and execution. It's the invisible line between reacting and responding. In trading, that space determines everything.
Because within that space, your mindset decides, am I trading out of confidence or out of fear? Am I following my edge or following emotion? Every great trader has stood in that space, the quiet before the click, the moment where hesitation whispers and clarity has to speak louder. The impatient trader needs movement. They confuse activity with progress. But progress in trading isn't measured by how many trades you take. It's measured by how well you wait. There's power in the trader who watches a setup unfold and chooses not to act yet. Because patience is not laziness, it's discipline in disguise. Let's imagine a moment. You're staring at your chart. The setup looks almost perfect. You feel that subtle pull, the urge to act now. You tell yourself, if I don't take this, I'll miss the move. That's not strategy. That's fear of missing out. And fear of missing out is the enemy of probability, because when you trade out of urgency, you're no longer trading your plan, you're trading your emotion. The patient trader does something different. They breathe. They wait for confirmation. They understand that no trade is also a position. They know that the best opportunities don't scream for attention, they unfold quietly for those who can wait long enough to see them clearly. Patience isn't about waiting longer than others, it's about waiting smarter. Every candle tells a story, but not every story deserves your capital. Your job as a trader is to read between the lines, to recognize when the story is incomplete, because probability, not prediction, is what makes trading sustainable. Predictions are ego-driven. Probabilities are logic-driven. One seeks to be right. The other seeks to do right. The patient trader knows the outcome doesn't define them, because their focus isn't on what happens next, but on how well they execute their edge. That's the paradox of patience. The less you chase outcomes, the more consistent your results become. Think about this. If you took only the trades that perfectly matched your plan, no emotion, no FOMO, no revenge, how different would your results look? How much capital, how much mental energy, how much peace would you have saved? Patience protects both, your account and your mind. There's a deeper layer to patience too, the kind that goes beyond waiting for a single trade. It's the patience to grow, to learn through losses, to build skill slowly, to accept that mastery isn't built in months, but in years. This is where most traders fall short. They want fast results. They want instant control. But you cannot rush self-mastery, just like you can't rush the market. The patient trader understands that consistency compounds, not only in profits, but in mindset. The mind loves certainty. It wants to know what happens next, but the market is uncertainty embodied. Patience is your way of making peace with that uncertainty. When you stop demanding certainty, you start reading probability. And that's when trading begins to make sense. Let's be clear. Patience isn't passive. It's an active skill. It requires awareness, confidence, and control. Each time you resist the urge to act prematurely, you strengthen that mental muscle. You train your mind to trust your process, not your impulses. You stop asking, when will the market move, and start asking, when will my edge appear? That single shift changes everything. There's an elegance to a patient trader. They move less, but earn more. They speak less, but understand more. They lose less, but learn more. Because their power doesn't come from prediction, it comes from discipline under uncertainty. And that's what gives them the edge. Not their indicator, not their strategy, but their ability to wait with strength. So ask yourself, do you wait for confirmation or for comfort? Do you let the market come to you, or do you chase it into exhaustion? Every moment of waiting reveals your relationship with control. Patience is surrendering control of the market
to gain control over yourself. That's the quiet irony of trading. You win more by needing less. And once you master this patience, you'll start to see patterns differently. You'll start to feel time slow down. You'll recognize moments of imbalance and know that not acting is your edge, because patience sharpens your clarity and clarity fuels consistency. When the impatient trader burns out, the patient one remains. When the crowd chases, the calm one prepares. And when the time finally comes, the patient trader strikes, not from emotion, but from precision. That's the edge only few ever find. So remember this: patience isn't waiting for the market to move, it's waiting for your moment to align with it. And that alignment, that meeting point between discipline and opportunity, is where every great trade begins. In the next chapter, we'll take this foundation even deeper. Because patience alone isn't enough. To truly evolve as a trader, you need discipline, the structure that keeps your patience consistent and your mind sharp through every session. Get ready to build the framework of a professional. Chapter 4: The Discipline Blueprint. Consistency over perfection.
Chapter 4: The Discipline Blueprint. Consistency over perfection. Perfection is a myth, but consistency, that's power. The best traders don't aim to be flawless. They aim to be disciplined. Because the market doesn't reward perfection. It rewards process. Every trader dreams of finding the perfect strategy, the setup that never fails, the signal that always works. But trading doesn't work that way. There's no holy grail. Only habits. Only structure. Only the quiet repetition of good decisions made again and again and again. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's not exciting. It's the part no one sees. The long, silent hours of routine, where consistency is built. Think of trading like an athlete training for competition. The best athletes don't rise because of talent alone. They rise because of structure, daily discipline, even when motivation fades. They show up on the bad days. They practice the basics until they become second nature. They build systems that protect them from their own emotions. A disciplined trader does the same. They train the mind like a muscle, with repetition, reflection, and relentless self-awareness. Discipline is not control over the market. It's control of yourself within it. It's setting boundaries, when to trade, when to stop, when to rest. It's defining what a valid setup looks like, and refusing to bend your rules just because it feels right this time. Every trader faces temptation, that moment when the rules seem too tight and the market seems too tempting. But discipline whispers, follow the plan, not the emotion. That's the voice of long-term success. Let's talk about process-based thinking. The undisciplined trader obsesses over outcomes. They celebrate wins and mourn losses like emotional swings on a pendulum. But the disciplined trader focuses on execution. Their question isn't, did I win? It's, did I follow my process? Because when your process is sound, results take care of themselves. When your discipline is consistent, profits become inevitable. Here's the truth few traders accept. Every undisciplined win is a loss in disguise. Because it teaches the wrong lesson, that breaking rules can still lead to success. And that single illusion destroys more traders than any losing streak ever will. Discipline protects you from that illusion. It builds guardrails between your logic and your impulses. So when you win for the right reasons. And when you learn for the right reasons. A great trader once said, discipline is doing what must be done, even when you don't feel like it. That applies not just to charts, but to your entire lifestyle. Your sleep, your nutrition, your mental preparation, everything feeds your performance. Trading isn't a job, it's a craft. And like any craft, it demands ritual. Your morning routine, your pre-trade checklist, your reflection at the end of each session. These rituals shape your state of mind, the foundation from which every decision grows. Think of your trading day as a structure. Every block matters. If one is missing, the structure tilts. Without discipline, emotion takes over. Without consistency, data loses meaning. Without routine, growth becomes random. That's why the disciplined trader thrives, because they treat every day like a controlled experiment. They track, review, refine, not perfectly, but persistently. Consistency also means accepting imperfection. You will make mistakes. You will break rules. You will feel frustration. But the key is not to let one bad trade spiral into 10. One emotional moment does not define you, unless you let it. The disciplined trader accepts the loss, studies it, and returns to structure. Because failure only becomes final when it's not reviewed, and progress only becomes permanent when it's repeated. Trading is a mental sport. Every click of the mouse is a test of patience and perspective. The untrained mind seeks excitement. The disciplined mind seeks rhythm. It's rhythm that keeps you steady during losing streaks. It's rhythm that helps you execute your edge without hesitation. Discipline creates that rhythm, a heartbeat of calm repetition in the chaos of price movement. But here's what most people misunderstand. Discipline doesn't mean rigidity. It doesn't mean forcing control. It's not about punishing yourself for mistakes. It's about building a relationship with your process, one based on respect, not fear. Because fear-based discipline fades, but purpose-based discipline lasts. The goal isn't to control every outcome. It's to create a framework that keeps you grounded when emotions surge. That's real discipline, not punishment, but protection. Let's make it practical. Set your boundaries. Decide your max loss per day, your time to stop, your signals that must align before entry. Then follow those rules with integrity, not for a day, not for a week, but for as long as it takes to make discipline your default state. Because over time, discipline becomes identity. It's no longer something you do, it's something you are. Consistency doesn't look heroic. It looks ordinary. It looks quiet. While others chase hype, you follow your plan. While others overtrade, you wait. While others seek perfection, you seek process. And slowly, silently, you build mastery. If patience is the strength to wait, discipline is the structure that keeps you waiting well. Together, they create the mindset of a professional, steady, humble, focused. You no longer chase the market. You simply meet it when the time is right. And that is the essence of control. Not force, but flow through structure. But even with discipline, one thing can still break the strongest trader. Something subtle, invisible, and dangerous. Ego. The need to prove you're right. The desire to win your way. The hunger to fight back after a loss. Ego is the silent destroyer of discipline. It whispers that the rules no longer apply to you. And that whisper becomes the start of every downfall. In the next chapter, we'll uncover how ego hides inside even the most disciplined minds, and how it leads to revenge trading, overconfidence, and emotional collapse. But more importantly, we'll learn how humility restores clarity, and how letting go of ego becomes the ultimate act of strength. Chapter 5: Breaking the Ego Loop, From Revenge to Recovery.
Chapter 5: Breaking the Ego Loop,
From revenge to recovery. Every trader fights two battles, one against the market and one against themselves. The first battle is external, numbers, charts, volatility. The second is internal, pride, fear, and ego. And between the two, it's the inner battle that destroys more accounts. Ego is the silent destroyer of great traders. It hides in confidence and grows in success. It whispers, "You figured it out." It says, "You can't be wrong." And before you realize it, your trades stop being about probability and start being about proving a point. Imagine this. You've just taken a loss, one that shouldn't have happened. You followed your setup. The market turned unexpectedly. You feel the sting, not from the money, but from the insult of being wrong. That sting awakens the ego. You want your money back. You want your pride back. You want the market to know it made a mistake. So you click again, and again, and again. That's how revenge trading begins. Revenge trading isn't about recovery. It's about validation. It's your ego trying to restore its image, the image of, "I know what I'm doing." But the market doesn't care about your image. It doesn't care about your feelings. It only reflects behavior. The more emotionally attached you become, the less you see clearly. And slowly, you fall into what I call the ego loop. The ego loop follows a predictable cycle. Step 1, success. You win a few trades. Confidence rises. Step 2, identification. You start defining yourself by your wins. Your identity fuses with your performance. Step 3, resistance. You take a loss, and instead of learning, you fight it. You tell yourself, "This trade was wrong, not me." Step 4, revenge. You trade impulsively to win back what you lost. You stop following your plan. Step 5, collapse. Losses multiply. Confidence shatters. You overcorrect, undertrade, or quit. Then, if you're lucky, you awaken. You realize it wasn't the market that defeated you, it was your ego. Ego disguises itself as strength, but true strength in trading is humility. Humility isn't weakness, it's clarity. It's the ability to say, "I was wrong, and that's okay." Every great trader learns this lesson the hard way, because ego doesn't just make you overconfident, it blinds you to data. It makes you dismiss feedback. It silences curiosity. You stop asking why. You stop improving. You protect your pride instead of your progress. One of the most dangerous phrases in trading is, "I just need to make it back." That phrase turns a rational mind into a gambler's mind, because now it's not about discipline, it's about redemption. You're no longer trading your edge, you're trading your emotion. And the more you chase, the further you fall. Let's reframe what recovery actually means. Recovery isn't regaining your losses, it's regaining your perspective. You don't need to make your money back, you need to make your mind back. Because once your mind is stable, the profits follow naturally. Humility gives you that stability. Humility doesn't mean self-doubt, it means self-honesty. It's being able to say, "I was wrong, and that's okay." Every great trader learns this lesson the hard way, because ego doesn't just make you overconfident, it blinds you to data. It makes you dismiss feedback. It silences curiosity. You stop asking why. You stop improving. You protect your pride instead of your progress. There's a saying, ego seeks to be right. Wisdom seeks to be better. When your focus shifts from being right to being better, your entire trading psychology transforms. You begin reviewing mistakes not to punish yourself, but to understand yourself. You begin journaling, not just trades, but thoughts, emotions, impulses, triggers. And over time, you begin to see patterns, not in charts, but in yourself. You'll start to notice when revenge thoughts appear, that tightness in your chest after a loss, that voice that says, just one more trade. That pressure to win back instead of move forward. When you recognize it, don't resist it. Observe it. Because ego thrives on reaction, but it dies in awareness. Once you can see it clearly, you can step outside it. And when you step outside it, you regain control. That's recovery. There's another side of ego most traders miss: overconfidence. After a winning streak, the mind gets intoxicated. Rules start feeling unnecessary. Risk limits feel restrictive. You feel invincible. That's ego's most seductive disguise: success. But what many forget is that consistency, not victory, defines mastery. A few wins mean nothing without structure, because markets change, conditions evolve, and only a humble trader adapts. Overconfidence blinds you to that change. Humility keeps you alert to it. Humility isn't loud. It's quiet. It's the trader who journals after both wins and losses. The one who says, "The market taught me something today." It's the one who still reads, reviews, refines, even after years of experience. Humility isn't thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. It's allowing truth to matter more than pride. And when truth becomes your compass, you never lose direction, no matter what the market does. Let's visualize this. You're sitting at your desk, charts glowing. The day didn't go as planned. Your heart's racing. You want to click. You want to fix it. But instead, you breathe. You close the chart. You walk away. That single act, that pause, isn't weakness. It's wisdom. Because recovery doesn't happen in the market. It happens in you. The road from revenge to recovery is quiet, disciplined, and self-aware. It's built on small moments of restraint, moments where you choose process over pride, clarity over chaos, humility over ego. And each time you do, your mind becomes sharper, your trading becomes calmer, your confidence becomes quieter, but infinitely more powerful. In the end, ego wants to win, but the trader's goal is not to win. It's to last, to stay in the game long enough to grow through every cycle, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that longevity only comes through humility, because humility lets you learn, and learning keeps you alive. As your ego fades, something new begins to emerge, a state of effortless control, where your actions flow naturally, where focus feels light yet razor sharp. You no longer force discipline, you embody it. This is where the next evolution begins: flow state trading. In the next chapter, we'll explore what happens when discipline and humility merge, creating the psychology of effortless focus, how top traders enter the zone, where execution feels instinctive, time slows down, and every decision aligns with clarity. Chapter 6: Flow State Trading, the Psychology of Effortless Focus.
Chapter 6: Flow State Trading, the Psychology of Effortless Focus. There's a moment every trader dreams of, when the market moves and somehow you move with it. No hesitation, no noise, no doubt. Your focus sharpens, your mind quiets. Decisions flow naturally, not forced, not overthought, just right. That's not luck. That's flow. Flow is the mental state where discipline meets intuition. It's when your skills and your focus align so perfectly that effort disappears and execution becomes instinct. Every elite performer knows this state. Athletes, artists, musicians, but traders can experience it too. It's the zone, where confidence feels calm and concentration feels effortless. The flow state doesn't happen by chasing it. It happens when you remove everything that blocks it: the doubts, the fear, the overanalysis, the emotional noise. In other words, flow is not something you do. It's something you allow. Think of a professional surfer. They don't fight the wave. They align with it. They feel its rhythm, its power. They adjust, smoothly, instinctively. That's what flow feels like in trading. You stop fighting the market. You stop forcing trades. You simply ride its rhythm with awareness, discipline, and trust. But to reach that state, you must first prepare the mind, because flow is not random, it's trained. And that training begins long before the trade. Step 1. Create mental space. Clarity cannot exist in a cluttered mind. Before you open the charts, your focus must be grounded. That means setting your environment. Quiet, organized, intentional. No distractions, no notifications. Just you and your craft. Take a breath. Center yourself. Remind your mind that this session isn't about outcome. It's about execution. Step 2. Build ritual. Ritual builds rhythm, and rhythm is the gateway to flow. It could be as simple as reviewing your plan the same way every morning, writing one line in your journal before trading. I am here to follow my process. Maybe you sip your coffee, review your setups, visualize the day ahead. These small acts tell your mind, I'm entering my zone. Consistency creates familiarity, and familiarity breeds calm. Flow thrives in that calm. Step 3. Define your focus. Flow can't exist in multitasking. It demands total presence. When you trade, trade. When you analyze, analyze. When you review, review. Never all at once. Top traders treat every task as a sacred space of attention. They give it everything, then move on cleanly, without residue. That separation is what keeps their minds sharp and their emotions balanced. Once these foundations are in place, flow begins to emerge. Quietly, naturally. You start noticing patterns without effort. Entries align smoothly. Stops and targets feel obvious. It's not intuition. It's mastery revealing itself. You've practiced your process so many times. Your subconscious takes over. What once felt like discipline now feels like freedom. But make no mistake, flow is not being carefree. It's careful. Your awareness is deep, but it's not heavy. You're focused, but not tense. Confident, but not cocky. In flow, you're not trying to predict. You're simply responding, one moment at a time. The market becomes a mirror, and your job is to reflect it clearly. To understand flow, you must understand balance. Flow exists between two extremes. Too much challenge, and you feel anxious. Too little challenge, and you get bored. In the middle lies that perfect stretch, where your skills are tested just enough to keep you engaged, but not so much that you break. That's where flow lives. So the next time you feel frustrated, ask yourself, is the market really the problem, or is your mind out of balance? Flow also requires trust, and trust is built through repetition. You can't enter flow if you don't trust your system. If you're second-guessing every move, your conscious mind stays in control, and flow disappears. That's why journaling, backtesting, and consistency matter. They build evidence. Evidence builds confidence. Confidence frees the mind, and a free mind flows naturally. There's something beautiful about this realization. You don't need to force confidence. You earn it through preparation. When your preparation is deep, the moment doesn't feel heavy. You don't have to get ready. You are ready. That readiness is flow's foundation. Many traders mistake flow for emotion. But flow isn't excitement. It's not adrenaline. It's presence. If you feel high after a win, you're not in flow. You're in ego. If you feel angry after a loss, you're not in flow. You're in attachment. Flow feels neutral, peaceful. It's a quiet intensity, a still alertness. You're in control, but you're not trying to control. You're simply aligned. There's something beautiful about this realization. There's a story of a veteran trader who used to meditate every morning before the market opened. When asked why, he said, "Because I want to start the day before the market does." He wasn't talking about time. He was talking about mental speed. He wanted his mind already centered so that when volatility hit, he was already calm. That's flow preparation. You move slower so your mind can move faster. In flow, time changes. Minutes stretch. Everything slows down not because the world changes, but because your perception does. You stop thinking in haste. You start seeing in clarity. And when you act from that state, you're no longer chasing setups. You're executing truth. That's why some trades feel effortless. They weren't random. They were the result of alignment. Your mind, your method, and your moment, all in sync. But there's a danger here. Chasing flow is like chasing calm water. The more you try to grasp it, the more you disturb it. Flow comes when you stop trying to control it. You simply create the conditions: structure, focus, balance, and let it arise. It's not something you hunt. It's something you become. If discipline is the structure of trading, flow is its soul. Discipline builds the walls, flow fills the space between them. Without discipline, you're chaotic. Without flow, you're mechanical. But when the two meet, your trading becomes art. You see patterns where others see randomness. You wait when others rush. You act when others freeze. And you do it all without tension. That's the psychology of effortless focus. As you grow in the state, you begin to trust not just your system, but yourself. You start to understand that control isn't about predicting outcomes. It's about mastering presence. You stop fighting the market. You start flowing with it. And in that space, the noise of emotion fades. What remains is clarity and calm execution. That's where mastery lives. But flow doesn't mean perfection. Even in perfect rhythm, losses will come. The difference is you'll respond with grace, not reaction. You'll see losses not as punishments, but as patterns, as teachers. Because every mistake inside flow contains a message, a quiet invitation to grow stronger, sharper, and wiser. And that's where our journey naturally leads next. Because once you've felt flow, you start to understand that pain doesn't have to break you. It can shape you. In the next chapter, we'll explore how true traders use pain as their greatest mentor, how setbacks become stepping stones, how loss transforms into wisdom, and how resilience, not perfection, creates mastery. Chapter 7. Pain as a Teacher, Turning Losses into Lessons.
Chapter 7. Pain as a Teacher, Turning Losses into Lessons. Every trader remembers their first real loss. Not the small ones, the one that shook them, the one that made them question everything. That's the moment the market stops being a game and starts becoming a mirror. Because behind every loss is a lesson, but only if you're humble enough to listen. Pain is a strange teacher. It doesn't speak softly. It doesn't explain gently. It forces you to face yourself. In trading, pain doesn't just reveal what went wrong in your strategy, it reveals what's unhealed in your mind. Fear, ego, impatience, all of it shows up through your losses. And that's why pain, when embraced consciously, becomes one of the most valuable mentors you'll ever have. Think about it. Every chart, every trade, every candle, it's data. But data only becomes wisdom through reflection. Pain provides that reflection. When you lose, you have two choices: to suffer or to study. Suffering says, why me? Study says, what can I learn? That single question, what can I learn, is what separates emotional traders from professional ones. Let's look deeper. Why does loss hurt so much? Because it threatens your sense of control. Your brain is wired to avoid uncertainty, to cling to patterns, to crave safety. But trading is uncertainty by design, and that's why it triggers your deepest emotions. Each loss scratches at the part of you that wants to be right,
that wants to prove you've mastered the market. But mastery isn't proven through wins, it's revealed through how you respond to losses. Pain teaches awareness. The first step is learning to observe it instead of resist it. Most traders try to escape the discomfort. They seek distractions. They rush into another trade. They drown it out with hope or blame. But what you resist persists. What you observe transforms. If you can sit with your pain, just sit with it, you'll begin to see its shape. You'll notice patterns. You'll recognize emotional triggers that once went unseen. That's where growth begins. Let's imagine this scene. You've taken a loss, a heavy one. The numbers flash red on your screen. Your chest tightens, your mind races. How could I be so stupid? But instead of reacting, you take a breath. You look at your journal. You start writing. What did I feel before entering? Did I follow my rules? Was I trading logic or emotion? This isn't punishment, it's perspective. Pain observed with honesty turns into clarity, and clarity turns into wisdom. Pain also teaches resilience. Resilience isn't the absence of pain, it's the ability to face it, absorb it, and move forward with strength. Think of your emotional tolerance like a muscle. Every time you recover from a setback, you build that muscle. The first loss hurts deeply. The 10th hurts less. Not because you stopped caring, but because you've learned how to process, reflect, and recover. Resilience is the difference between a trader who quits and a trader who evolves. Many traders fear pain because they mistake it for failure. But failure isn't falling. Failure is refusing to learn from the fall. The truth is, losses are feedback. They're messages from the market, whispering, something in your process needs attention. When you stop taking losses personally, you can finally start taking them professionally. That's when your emotional balance begins to mature. There's a story about a trader named Daniel. He spent years trying to perfect his entries, reading every book, studying every indicator. But no matter how precise his setups became, he kept losing after emotional spikes. One day after a painful streak, he decided to stop trading for a week. Instead of studying the charts, he studied himself. He reread his trading journal and noticed a pattern. Every big loss came after a big win. He realized his problem wasn't his system, it was his psychology. He wasn't losing because of bad setups, he was losing because of overconfidence. That week changed his career. Not because he found a new strategy, but because he finally learned how pain was speaking to him. Pain wasn't punishing him, it was teaching him. Pain also teaches acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean you like losing, it means you understand that loss is part of the process. No system wins all the time. No strategy is perfect. No trader escapes drawdowns. The sooner you accept that truth, the freer you become. Because acceptance neutralizes resistance, and resistance is the root of emotional chaos. When you accept losses as information, you stop reacting to them with fear or shame. You simply adjust, adapt, and continue. That's the mindset of a professional. Pain also refines your patience. When you feel emotional pain, your instinct is to act, to fix, to correct, to escape. But the wise trader learns to pause, to let the emotional storm pass before making the next move. That wait-in, that breathing space, is where emotional intelligence is born. Because patience under pressure is the highest form of control. And only through discomfort does that level of control emerge. Pain teaches respect for the market. Every time you think you've outsmarted it, it humiliates you. But that humility isn't meant to break you. It's meant to shape you into someone worthy of long-term success. The market doesn't reward ego, it rewards endurance. and endurance is built through learning from pain without losing your composure. Pain also purifies your purpose. After enough setbacks, you start asking deeper questions. Why am I doing this? Am I here for excitement or mastery? Am I trading to grow wealth or to prove something to myself? Pain strips away the superficial motives. It burns off the noise. And what remains is truth. When you trade from that truth, your decisions become cleaner. Your emotions settle. Your purpose aligns. And eventually, pain teaches gratitude. Because once you survive the storms, you start to appreciate them. You realize that without your biggest losses, you never would have developed your greatest discipline. Every setback that once felt like a curse was actually preparing you for clarity, humility, and strength. Gratitude turns scars into wisdom. It transforms your trading journey from a chase for profits into a path of personal evolution. So how do you apply this practically? After every session, win or loss, review your emotional data. What did you feel before, during, and after each trade? What beliefs surfaced? What triggered impatience or fear? Write it down. Don't judge it, just study it. Because awareness creates space, and in that space, growth happens naturally. Your pain is your feedback system. The more honest you are with it, the faster you evolve. One day, pain will stop feeling like punishment. It'll start feeling like direction. You'll see losses as signals. You'll thank them, genuinely, for showing you where growth still lives. That's when trading stops being emotional chaos and starts becoming inner work. The charts don't just reflect markets, they reflect you, your mindset, your growth, your awareness. And every loss becomes another step toward mastery. At the end of every storm, you realize something profound. Pain doesn't break you. It builds you. It builds your resilience, your patience, your character. You stop seeing trading as a battlefield and start seeing it as a training ground. Because the pain that once felt unbearable has now become your greatest teacher. And when you've learned to learn from pain, you start to build something even stronger. Confidence that cannot be shaken. Because it's not built on wins, but on wisdom. It's not dependent on the market, but grounded in your mindset. That's where our journey continues next. In the next chapter, we'll explore how true confidence is built, not from outcomes, but from consistency, purpose, and time. How to stay calm in volatility, steady in drawdowns, and secure in your process. Chapter 8, The Long Game, Building Unshakable Confidence.
Chapter 8, The Long Game, Building Unshakable Confidence. Confidence. The word itself feels powerful, yet so easily misunderstood. Most traders think confidence is something you feel when you're winning, but real confidence isn't emotional. It's not fragile. It doesn't depend on your P&L or how your last trade ended. True confidence is quiet, grounded, built slowly, one disciplined action at a time. It's not a rush of certainty. It's the calm understanding that you can handle whatever comes next. In trading, false confidence is everywhere. It appears after a winning streak, when you start to believe you can't lose. It shows up as ego, when you confuse luck with skill. It hides behind bravado, when you mistake noise for knowledge. But the market has a way of testing every illusion, because confidence built on results will vanish the moment those results change, and they always do. True confidence is built on process, not outcomes. The amateur says, "I'm confident because I'm winning." The professional says, "I'm confident because I'm consistent." That's the difference. Confidence isn't something you get after success. It's something you build through repetition, through discipline, through endurance. It's the reward for staying steady when everything around you feels uncertain.
Let's think about what destroys confidence. It's not losing, it's doubt. Doubt creeps in when you break your own rules. When you overtrade, revenge trade, skip journaling, or ignore your plan, you know it. And deep down, that creates friction inside you. You lose trust in yourself. Confidence cannot exist without self-trust. And self-trust is built when your actions match your intentions. Every time you follow your plan, even when it's hard, you're telling your subconscious, I can rely on me. That's where confidence is born. Picture this. Two traders sit side by side. Both have the same strategy. Both have the same account size. The first trader wins a few trades and starts feeling invincible. The second one wins the same trades but feels calm, detached. Then the losses come. The first trader panics, spirals, questions everything. The second simply reviews, adjusts, and continues. What's the difference? One anchored confidence in outcomes. The other anchored it in discipline. The market will always test your anchor. Only one will hold. Confidence also comes from accepting uncertainty. Traders often chase control, believing that if they analyze enough data, study enough patterns, or find the perfect indicator, they can remove uncertainty from the equation. But the truth is, uncertainty is the equation. Confidence doesn't come from predicting the future. It comes from knowing you can respond wisely no matter what the future brings. That's why the best traders don't try to eliminate uncertainty. They prepare for it. They plan. They adapt. They stay emotionally balanced through it all. Confidence isn't about control. It's about readiness. Think of your trading journey like a long-distance run, not a sprint. Early on, every trader wants results fast. You want to feel progress, to see your account grow, to prove to yourself that you're getting better. But speed can destroy endurance. The long game requires patience, the willingness to delay gratification in favor of growth. When you trade for quick validation, you become emotionally dependent on outcomes. But when you trade for mastery, you detach from short-term wins and focus on long-term development. You start to play a different game. Confidence also thrives on routine. When your routine is solid, your emotions don't need to guess what comes next. You wake up, review your plan, analyze your levels, execute with precision, journal with honesty. You're not chasing feelings, you're following structure. Structure creates stability, and stability creates confidence. Because every time you repeat that cycle with discipline, you're reinforcing the belief that you're in control of your behavior, even if you're not in control of the market. That's the foundation of emotional strength. But confidence doesn't mean perfection. You'll still doubt yourself sometimes. You'll still question a trade or feel fear after a big loss. That's part of being human. Confidence doesn't erase emotion, it allows you to manage it. When fear arises, confidence says, I've been here before. When uncertainty hits, it says, I know my edge, I'll follow my plan. It's the steady voice that keeps you grounded when your emotions want to take over. There's a story about a trader named Elena. When she started, she was obsessed with winning streaks. Every red day crushed her. Every green day inflated her ego. Her emotional state rose and fell with her P&L. She was confident when things went her way and anxious when they didn't. One day, after a brutal losing week, she sat in silence and realized something powerful. She didn't want emotional highs anymore. She wanted emotional stability. So she changed her approach. She stopped focusing on profits and started focusing on her process. Daily preparation, risk limits, journaling, and rest. Months later, her trading performance improved, but more importantly, her peace of mind improved. She no longer needed the market to validate her. She trusted herself. That's real confidence. Not loud, not flashy, just steady. Confidence also grows through time. Every experience, every trade, every mistake, Every insight adds to your emotional capital. In your first year, you're still learning how to lose. In your second, how to recover. In the third, how to stay calm in chaos. It's the accumulation of time, process, and perspective that shapes you into someone the market can't easily shake. That's why shortcuts never work, because confidence can't be downloaded, it must be earned. But the most powerful form of confidence comes from purpose. Why are you trading? If your purpose is money, your confidence will rise and fall with your balance. If your purpose is mastery, your confidence will grow with every lesson learned. Purpose gives meaning to struggle. It turns losses into lessons. It gives you patience during plateaus. When you have purpose, you stop measuring your worth by your performance. You measure it by your progress. That shift transforms everything. And here's something most traders never realize. Confidence isn't something you find after success. It's something you build through failure. Every time you get back up after a drawdown, you're strengthening your mental foundation. Confidence isn't built in winning seasons, it's forged in recovery, in reflection, in resilience. That's why long-term traders don't just survive losses, they evolve through them. If you want unshakable confidence, commit to the long game. Because the long game is where truth lives. It's where you stop performing for quick validation and start building a mindset that lasts a lifetime. Day by day, habit by habit, you'll discover something extraordinary. You don't need the market to make you feel powerful. You already are. You don't need certainty to feel secure. You already trust your ability to adapt. You don't need to win every trade to win the game. You just need to stay in it long enough to let your discipline compound. And as you stay steady in that process, something shifts inside you. You stop chasing confidence, you embody it. You realize that your worth isn't defined by a chart, a balance, or a trade result, but by the person you've become through every test, every loss, and every rebound. That's the mindset that can weather any storm. That's the mindset that builds legacies. And as your confidence matures, you begin to think differently, not like a gambler chasing outcomes, but like a professional mastering probabilities, because that's the next evolution of your mindset. In the next chapter, we'll explore what separates amateurs from true professionals, how elite traders view risk, time, and reward through the lens of discipline, patience, and long-term mastery. Chapter 9, The Winner's Mindset. Think like a professional, not a gambler.
Chapter 9, The Winner's Mindset. Think like a professional, not a gambler. There's a moment in every trader's journey when they realize they've been playing a different game than they thought. At first, trading feels like excitement, the rush of entering a position, the surge of adrenaline as the candles move, the thrill of instant reward. But that's not trading. That's gambling. And every trader must eventually decide which game they're really playing, the game of impulse or the game of mastery. The difference between amateurs and professionals isn't knowledge, it's mindset. Both can read charts. Both understand price action, indicators, and risk-to-reward ratios. But the amateur trades for emotion. The professional trades for process. The amateur seeks excitement. The professional seeks consistency. And that one shift in focus, from excitement to execution, is where transformation begins. Let's look closer at how gamblers and professionals think differently. A gambler trades for validation. They crave the high of being right, the feeling of certainty, the quick hit of dopamine that says, "I knew it." A professional trades for probability. They know being right isn't the goal. Being disciplined is. A gambler needs the market to confirm their ego. A professional only needs the market to express their plan. It's not about predicting. It's about preparing. The gambler reacts. The professional responds. Every trader starts as a gambler, and there's no shame in that.
Because it's human nature. We're wired to crave instant feedback, to seek reward, to avoid pain. But trading punishes impatience. It exposes every emotional weakness we try to hide. That's why the transition from gambler to professional isn't about learning a new strategy. It's about unlearning old instincts. You don't evolve as a trader until you outgrow your emotional dependencies. Professional traders have one powerful mindset difference. They respect risk. Gamblers see risk as an obstacle, something to avoid or fight. Professionals see risk as a tool, something to manage and understand. Risk isn't the enemy, it's the price of opportunity. Amateurs fear losing, professionals fear not learning. That's why when a professional loses, they don't take it personally. They don't spiral into revenge trades or emotional overreactions. They review, they adjust, they refine. They know that mastery is measured not by how often you win, but how well you handle losing. Professionals also view money differently. A gambler sees money as points in a game, a way to measure self-worth or proof of intelligence. A professional sees money as capital, a tool for creating long-term opportunity. A gambler celebrates big wins and feels invincible. A professional respects small, consistent returns because they understand one truth. Compounding doesn't care about excitement. It only rewards consistency. So professionals focus on process, not performance, because in the long game, the process is what compounds. Let's talk about time. To a gambler, time is the enemy. Every moment that doesn't bring profit feels wasted. They rush setups, force trades, chase markets that aren't ready. To a professional, time is the ally. They know patience multiplies probability. They understand that no trade is a position. Time filters noise. Time protects discipline. Time rewards those who wait for alignment. So pros are rarely in a hurry. Their confidence comes from knowing that opportunities never disappear, they just move. There's a story of a trader named Marcus. When he started, he wanted to double his account in a month. Every chart looked like an opportunity. Every red candle felt like a betrayal. He'd enter early, exit late, and feel the emotional swing between euphoria and despair every single day. He was addicted to movement, addicted to being in the trade, not being in control. Then one day, he realized his biggest losses didn't come from bad analysis, they came from impatience, from the belief that he needed to be in the market to grow. So he made a shift. He stopped measuring progress by profits. He started measuring it by discipline. How many times did I follow my plan today? How often did I trade my setup and nothing else? At first, it felt boring, but slowly something changed. The noise faded, the chaos quieted, and for the first time, trading started to feel peaceful. He wasn't chasing the market anymore, he was dancing with it. That's when Marcus stopped being a gambler and started becoming a professional. Here's the truth. The gambler mindset wants control over outcomes. The professional mindset wants control over self. You can't control what the market does, but you can control what you do in response. You can control your position size. You can control your stop loss. You can control your emotional reactions. That's where true power lies. Professionals don't need certainty to act. They need clarity to execute. And that clarity comes from preparation, not prediction. There's a paradox at the heart of professional trading. The more detached you are from the result, the better your results become. When you stop needing the market to confirm your worth, you start to trade with freedom. When you stop trying to win every trade, you start to win the right trades. When you stop seeking excitement, you start finding mastery. That's the evolution. Trading stops being about emotion. It starts becoming about expression, the calm expression of skill, discipline, and patience. And yet, the professional mindset isn't about emotionlessness. It's about emotional intelligence. It's not about suppressing fear or greed, it's about understanding them and not letting them steer the wheel. Professionals feel emotion, but they act through awareness. They know they're tilted. They know they're tired. They know when to walk away. Because their identity isn't tied to a single trade. It's tied to the integrity of their process. The gambler asks, "How much can I make today?" The professional asks, "How well can I execute today?" The gambler seeks intensity. The professional seeks mastery. That single difference changes everything, because when your mind evolves beyond gambling, trading becomes something deeper, something personal, something spiritual. You're no longer fighting the market, you're refining yourself. And that's the real purpose of trading. It's not about chasing wealth, it's about cultivating wisdom. The charts become mirrors, showing you your impatience, your ego, your fear, your resilience. The better you trade, the more you understand yourself. And the more you understand yourself, the better you trade. That's the loop of mastery. A loop gamblers never reach, but professionals build their life around. So, as you continue this journey, ask yourself, what game are you playing? The short game of emotional gratification or the long game of personal evolution? Because every click of the mouse, every entry and exit is shaping not just your results, but your mindset. And once your mindset transforms, the market no longer controls you. You control your reaction to it. You move with intention, with clarity, with purpose. That's what it means to think like a winner, to think like a professional. The next and final chapter is where everything connects, where trading psychology becomes life philosophy. Because in the end, this journey isn't about charts or numbers. It's about transformation. It's about becoming the kind of person who can stay calm in chaos, disciplined in doubt, and focused in failure. It's not just about trading better. It's about becoming better. Join me in the final chapter, The Awakening, Becoming the Disciplined Trader, because you're not just learning to trade, you're learning to master yourself.
Chapter 10, The Awakening, Becoming the Disciplined Trader. Every trader's story begins the same way, with excitement, with ambition, with the dream of freedom, financial, personal, emotional. But few realize what trading truly demands, because trading isn't just about mastering the market. It's about mastering yourself. This is the awakening. You've walked through every layer of the inner battlefield: fear, greed, ego, discipline, patience, confidence, and control. You've seen how the charts aren't just lines and numbers, they're mirrors. Every candle reflects your beliefs. Every trade exposes your impulses. Every result reveals your level of self-mastery. In the beginning, you thought the goal was to beat the market. Now you understand, the real goal is to transcend yourself. Discipline is not punishment, it's freedom. When you're disciplined, you no longer react to every tick, every emotion, every whisper of doubt. You act from clarity, from principle, from strength. Discipline is the bridge between chaos and control, between who you were when you started and who you are becoming. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. It's quiet, steady, and relentless. The market respects that energy because the disciplined trader doesn't fight the storm. They become still within it. Think of the trader you once were, the one chasing setups, forcing trades, seeking excitement in every chart. That version of you wasn't weak. They were learning. Every mistake was a teacher. Every loss was a message. Every emotional breakdown was a breakthrough waiting to happen. You needed those moments. You needed the pain. Because pain awakens awareness, and awareness creates transformation. The market doesn't destroy you, it reveals you.
Becoming a disciplined trader isn't about control over the market. It's about control over your response. You can't choose what the market does. You can only choose who you are when it moves. When the price spikes against you, do you react or do you breathe? When you miss a move, do you chase or do you wait for your setup? When you lose, do you spiral into revenge or do you review, learn, and rebuild? That's the awakening. The moment you stop being controlled by emotion and start being guided by awareness. Awareness is the foundation of all discipline, because when you're aware, you can see your thoughts before they become actions. You can feel your emotions before they become decisions. Awareness creates the space between stimulus and response, and in that space, mastery is born. That's what separates the few who thrive from the many who fade. Not intelligence, not luck, just presence, just patience. The disciplined trader lives in that space. Over time, your relationship with trading changes. What used to excite you now grounds you. What used to scare you now strengthens you. You stop trying to predict. You start preparing. You stop trying to win every trade. You start trying to execute every plan. And in that shift, you find peace. Trading stops being a battlefield. It becomes a meditation. Each chart, each setup, each routine becomes part of a rhythm, a dance between uncertainty and control. And through that rhythm, you evolve. True mastery isn't measured in profits, it's measured in composure. How you behave when nothing goes your way. How you think when you're losing. How you hold your ground when chaos tests your calm. That's the real equity you build, the emotional capital that compounds with time. Because no amount of technical skill can compensate for a restless mind, and no amount of market knowledge can save a trader who hasn't mastered their own emotions. When you learn to stay calm in chaos, you become unstoppable. The disciplined trader doesn't just follow a plan, they live by principles. Integrity, patience, consistency, humility. These are more than trading traits. They're life philosophies. Because trading is a mirror of who you are when no one is watching. It shows your tendencies, your impulses, your fears, your ego. And through that reflection, it offers you a choice to keep reacting as you always have, or to rise above it. Every trade gives you the chance to choose awareness over emotion, process over impulse, discipline over chaos. That's how transformation happens. Trade by trade, choice by choice. You see, the goal was never just to make money. It was to make meaning, to build something inside yourself that no loss can take away. Confidence, calm, control. You've spent these chapters learning the psychology of trading, but beneath that, you've been learning the psychology of yourself. Because the market is just a teacher, and you are its most important student. There comes a moment, quietly, when you realize you no longer need the market to feel powerful. You already are. You no longer chase certainty, you embrace uncertainty, because you've trained your mind to stay grounded through it. You no longer define yourself by outcomes, you define yourself by discipline. And in that moment, you stop doing trading and start being a trader. That is the awakening. When you sit down tomorrow and the market's open, remember this. You're not fighting against volatility, you're flowing with it. You're not trying to outsmart the crowd, you're aligning with your process. You're not hoping for luck, you're trusting your edge. Every breath, every click, every decision, all of it is a reflection of your discipline. And yet the journey doesn't end here, because mastery isn't a destination, it's a practice, a lifetime of refinement. There will still be days when emotions rise, when fear whispers, when doubt tempts you to break your rules. But now you'll see it, you'll feel it, and you'll choose differently. Because the disciplined trader doesn't eliminate weakness, they manage it. They stay conscious in every storm. And that consciousness, that awareness, is the true mark of mastery. You started this journey chasing freedom. Now you've found a deeper kind. Freedom from emotional chaos, freedom from the need for perfection, freedom from the fear of losing. Because you've discovered something greater, the strength to stay still, the patience to wait, and the wisdom to let the market do what it does, while you remain unmoved. That's the essence of discipline. That's the awakening. And as this chapter closes, remember, you're not just learning to trade, you're learning to master yourself. Because the next trade isn't just on the screen, it's within you. Every moment of awareness, every act of discipline, every lesson learned is another trade in the market of self-growth. And that's a market worth winning. If this journey has inspired you, if you felt a shift, even a small one, then stay with it. Keep learning, keep growing, keep evolving into the calm, disciplined trader you were meant to become. And if you found value in this audiobook, subscribe to Psych, because this journey doesn't end here. It's only the beginning. The charts will change, the markets will shift, but your mindset, that's forever. Thank you for listening. Thank you for growing. And remember, the next trade isn't just on the screen. It's within you.